No roar, no charge, no warning. In Africa's deadliest corners, survival doesn't roar. It waits, spits, strikes, weaves, and dives with surgical precision. This is not a story of lions or leopards. This is the untold genius of snakes and birds, nature's most underestimated masters. And by the end, you'll realize the most dangerous predator isn't in the wild. It's watching from the other side of the screen. And by the end, you'll meet the most dangerous predator of all. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel to encourage us to keep producing the best documentaries for you. The gaboon viper, Baetis gabonica, is one of Africa's most fascinating and least understood predators. It can grow to nearly 2 meters in length, but it is its weight that sets it apart from all other vipers. Adult females weigh between 7 and 10 kilograms, which is twice the weight of a North American diamondback rattlesnake of comparable size. This exceptional size is not a handicap. It is a strategic adaptation. Such a heavy body remains stiller, vibrates less in the wind, and blends more completely into the leaf litter. Its skin is a masterpiece of natural art. The geometric patterns in brown, slate gray, beige, and purple form a mosaic that researchers have compared to a Persian rug. This coloration is not decorative. It is 100% functional. Under infrared light, the gaboon viper's thermal pattern is identical to that of a pile of dead leaves. Experiments conducted at the University of Pretoria have shown that even experienced biologists, warned of its presence, took an average of 87 seconds to locate it within a 2 by 2 meter square. An uninformed person has a more than 60% chance of stepping on it without seeing it. Its fangs are the longest of any venomous snake, up to 5 centimeters, twice the size of those of an adult rattlesnake, and 3 times those of a king cobra. These fangs are hollow and connected to 2 venom glands located on either side of the head. The strike reaches 6 meters per second, faster than the human nerve signal that allows the hand to pull away. In other words, when the gaboon viper decides to strike, the bite is already complete before your nervous system has even registered the danger. The venom is a 3-component cocktail. Neurotoxins disrupt nerve transmission, causing progressive paralysis that begins in the limbs and spreads upward toward the respiratory muscles. Myotoxins destroy muscle fibers within a few hours, releasing myoglobin into the bloodstream and overloading the kidneys. Finally, hemotoxins dissolve clotting proteins, turning the blood into a liquid incapable of forming a clot. The amount injected can reach 500 milligrams per bite, a lethal dose for many adults. A study published in 2019 in the Toxicon Journal demonstrated that the venom of Baetis gabonica is 10 times more potent on human tissue than that of most African cobras. The gaboon viper does not hunt. It waits. This semantic distinction is fundamental. Hunting involves expending energy, movement, and exposure. Waiting is the opposite. By remaining perfectly still for up to 72 consecutive hours, it reduces its metabolic rate to a near basal level. Its heart rate can drop to 2 beats per minute. It produces no sound, no excessive body heat, no movement. It literally becomes a living stone. Its forked tongue, however, never stops. Even while motionless, it extends and retracts every 20 to 30 seconds, capturing scent molecules from the air and depositing them on the Jacobson's organ, located on the roof of the mouth. This organ is so sensitive that it can detect the pheromones of a mouse from more than 15 meters away. The viper thus constructs a 3-dimensional olfactory map of its environment without moving a single centimeter. When prey passes within 30 centimeters, the strike is triggered by 2 simultaneous systems: thermal detection via the loreal pits located between the eye and the nostril, capable of perceiving a temperature difference of 0.003 degrees Celsius, and vibrations transmitted through the ground via the ventral scales. The viper's brain processes these 2 streams of information in less than 50 milliseconds. Orders the strike. Every year in Central Africa, between 500 and 1,000 gaboon viper bites are reported to health authorities. But experts estimate that this figure represents less than a third of actual cases, as the majority of victims live in rural areas without access to hospitals. The consequences are devastating. Without antivenom administered within 2 hours, the mortality rate exceeds 40%. Survivors frequently suffer from extensive tissue necrosis requiring amputations, sometimes up to the shoulder for bites to the wrist. The major problem is not the animal's aggressiveness. The gaboon viper is remarkably tolerant and bites only when directly stepped on or grabbed. The problem is its perfect camouflage. Victims never see it. They step on it in the darkness of the forests at night or in cassava fields during the morning harvest. Max length 2 meters, weight 7 to 10 kilograms, fangs 5 centimeters, strike speed 6 meters per second, venom injected up to 500 milligrams. Average detection time by an expert biologist 87 seconds. Immobility has its limits. What you do when the enemy arrives from the air, several meters away, and direct combat would be suicidal. If you think patience is a weakness, let us know in the comments. In your opinion, is it more powerful than raw speed? Like the video, and let's move on to the next chapter. The spitting cobra is not a single species, but a functional group comprising several African species that share the same remarkable adaptation: the ability to project venom over a distance. In Africa, the best-known representatives are Naja nigricollis, the black-necked cobra, Naja mosambica, the Mozambique cobra, and Naja pallida, the red spitting cobra. These snakes measure between 1.2 and 2.2 meters, depending on the species and sex. Their bodies are slender, their skin smooth, and their coloration varies depending on the habitat: slate gray in arid areas, reddish-brown in savannas, and nearly black in dense forests. Unlike the gaboon viper, the spitting cobra is an active animal, hunting during the day or at dusk. It hunts, explores, and actively defends its territory. This increased activity makes it potentially more visible to predators, which explains the development of its long-range defense strategy: a weapon that neutralizes threats without engaging in close combat. Venom injection is a biomechanical adaptation of remarkable sophistication. The fangs of the spitting cobra feature a unique modification compared to other snakes. The venom outlet is not located at the tip of the fang, as in vipers or non-spitting cobras, but at the front of the fang, oriented slightly upward. This positioning creates a nozzle effect that transforms the liquid venom into a precise, coherent jet. The venom glands are surrounded by highly developed compressor muscles, capable of generating pressure of several atmospheres in a fraction of a second. This rapid muscle contraction, combined with the orientation of the openings, propels the venom up to 2.5 meters for most species, and up to 7 meters under optimal conditions for Naja nigricollis. The trajectory is calculated with a precision that defies our ballistic capabilities. The cobra aims for its target's eyes, and according to studies conducted at the University of the Witwatersrand, it hits its target in 80% of cases on moving targets at a distance of 1.5 meters. But how does it aim with such precision? Researchers filmed spitting cobras facing moving targets using high-speed cameras and discovered something extraordinary. The snake anticipates the movement of its target's head. When the head moves to the left, the cobra slightly adjusts its spit to the right to intercept the future trajectory. It doesn't aim at where the eye is. It aims at where the eye will be in 20 milliseconds. This is a form of predictive calculation that was thought to be reserved for the most complex brains. The venom injected is primarily neurotoxic, with a particularly high concentration of cytotoxins on the mucous membranes. Upon contact with the cornea, it causes intense pain within 30 seconds, comparable to a third-degree chemical burn. Without immediate and copious rinsing with clean water, at least 10 minutes of continuous rinsing, corneal damage becomes permanent within a few hours. Partial or total blindness occurs in 20 to 30% of untreated cases, according to data collected by the NGO African Snakebite Institute between 2015 and 2022. If the venom enters an open wound, systemic effects set in: progressive paralysis, respiratory failure. But the spitting cobra's primary strategy is to never let it come to that. By temporarily incapacitating its opponent from a distance, it can flee without risking injury in close combat. It is a perfect risk mitigation strategy. What makes the spitting cobra philosophically fascinating is that it has developed an option most animals lack: neither fight nor flight, but deterrence. Its behavioral response to a threat unfolds in 3 distinct phases. First phase, rearing up, flaring the neck hood, and emitting hissing sounds. This is the warning signal. Second phase, if the warning is ignored, spraying venom toward the eyes. Third phase, only as a last resort, direct bite. This hierarchy of responses minimizes risks at each stage. A wise predator retreats during the first phase. A reckless predator is neutralized during the second. The third is reserved for desperate situations. This behavioral intelligence, assessing the threat, escalating the response proportionally, and stopping at the minimum necessary threshold, is a strategy that human crisis negotiators teach in police academies around the world. Projectile range, 2.5 to 7 meters. Accuracy against moving targets, 80%. Pain upon contact, 30 seconds. Risk of blindness without treatment, 20 to 30%. Mortality rate from untreated bites, 5 to 10%. Distance is a weapon. Deterrence is a strategy. But what do you do when facing an opponent who is faster, stronger, and knows no fear? How do you survive when escape is impossible? Impressed by the cobra's tactical intelligence? Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next installment. The black mamba, Dendroaspis polylepis, is the most feared animal in sub-Saharan Africa. Its name, whispered from village to village, from Zimbabwe to Senegal, has taken on the air of a myth. But behind the myth lies a biological reality, as fascinating as it is terrifying. The black mamba is the longest venomous snake in Africa, regularly reaching 4 meters in length, with exceptional specimens approaching 5 meters. It is also one of the lightest for its size, barely 1.5 kilograms for a 4-meter-long snake, indicating an extremely low muscle and bone density. This lightness is the key to its speed. Contrary to what its name suggests, the black mamba is not black. Its body is covered in scales ranging from olive green to grayish brown, sometimes with metallic sheen. The black comes from the inside of its mouth, an absolute ink black, which it exposes widely when threatening. This visual signal is one of the most effective forms of intimidation in the animal kingdom. A gaping, completely black mouth in which you can see nothing, neither teeth nor depth, creates an instinctive reaction of terror in nearly all vertebrates. On favorable terrain, dry ground, slightly sloped with no obstacles, the black mamba can move at 19 kilometers per hour, sometimes faster over short distances. It is the fastest land snake in the world. To put this performance into perspective, Usain Bolt reached a top speed of 44 kilometers per hour during his world record-breaking 100-meter dash. An average human in good physical condition runs at 10 to 14 kilometers per hour when sprinting. In a forest path overgrown with vegetation and littered with obstacles, a frightened human running at 8 kilometers per hour against a mamba moving at 16 has no chance of outrunning the animal over a distance of more than 50 meters. This speed is not an isolated muscular trait. It is the result of extremely efficient neuromuscular coordination. The mamba uses a lateral undulation that simultaneously engages several hundred muscle groups along the entire length of its body, creating a wave-like progression that amplifies each thrust. Biomechanical studies conducted at the University of Cape Town have shown that the black mamba loses less than 2% of its energy to ground friction, a level of mechanical efficiency that robotics engineers are still striving to replicate. The mamba's speed would be nothing more than an anecdotal curiosity were it not for its venom, which is one of the deadliest in the world. The black mamba produces a venom composed primarily of two families of neurotoxins: dendrotoxins, which block potassium channels and amplify nerve signals to the point of causing convulsions, and postsynaptic alpha neurotoxins, which block acetylcholine receptors at the neuromuscular junction, paralyzing both voluntary and involuntary muscles. The lethal dose for a 70-kilogram human is approximately 10 to 15 milligrams. An adult mamba can inject between 100 and 280 milligrams in a single bite, which is 10 to 25 times the lethal dose. Without treatment, the first symptoms, dizziness, excessive salivation, drooping eyelids, appear within 10 to 20 minutes. Death from respiratory arrest occurs within 30 to 60 minutes. Before the widespread use of antivenom serums in the 1960s, the mortality rate from black mamba bites was 100%. According to data from the Global Venomous Species Monitoring Center, the black mamba is responsible for 400 to 600 documented deaths per year in sub-Saharan Africa, making it the deadliest snake on the continent, not because it is the most aggressive, but because its bites occur far from medical facilities and antivenoms remain scarce and expensive in rural areas. Unlike the gaboon viper, which lies in wait, the black mamba actively patrols a territory of 2 to 4 square kilometers, which it defends with remarkable tenacity. It regularly returns to the same roosts, tree hollows, abandoned burrows, rocky crevices, and follows preferred routes through its territory, what ethologists call hunting trails. These routes are memorized with precision, allowing the mamba to move at high speed through vegetation it knows by heart. Its hunting is opportunistic yet organized. It detects its prey, primarily rodents, ground-nesting birds, and lizards, thanks to its extraordinarily sensitive Jacobson's organ, capable of distinguishing the individual scent of a specific mouse among dozens. Once the prey is located, the attack is repeated. Unlike the viper, which bites and releases, the mamba bites several times in rapid succession, maximizing the amount of venom injected. The prey is released and tracked by scent until it collapses, usually within 2 minutes. The black mamba is a key regulator of African food chains. A 10-year study conducted in South Africa's Kruger National Park showed that areas with the highest densities of black mambas had rodent populations that were 30 to 40% lower than those in areas without equivalent snake predators. Without this natural control, mouse and rat populations would explode, destroying food crops and spreading diseases such as leptospirosis or Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever. Max length, 4.5 meters. Max speed, 19 kilometers per hour. Venom injected, 100 to 280 milligrams. Lethal dose for humans, 10 to 15 milligrams. Time to death without treatment, 30 to 60 minutes. Documented deaths per year, 400 to 600. We've just explored 3 of Africa's most fearsome crawling predators. But survival isn't just a matter of what happens on the ground. Up there, 30 meters high, other masters devise strategies with a creativity that defies even our own architects. 20 minutes to die. Share this clip with someone. It might one day save a life. The village weaver, Plosius caccalatus, is the most common bird in sub-Saharan Africa, yet the least known to the general public. It is small in size, 15 to 17 centimeters long and weighing 30 to 40 grams, and has distinctive plumage. During the breeding season, males display bright yellow on their heads and chests, contrasting with a black facial mask. Females are more subdued, greenish-brown in color, which corresponds to their role as quality inspectors, as we will explain in detail. The weaver lives in colonies that can range from hundreds to several thousand individuals. These colonies are not simply random gatherings. They are organized, hierarchical, and structured around a system of communal construction that has no equivalent in the African avian world. To grasp the scale of their achievement, one must first understand the challenges they face. Arboreal predators such as tree snakes, aerial predators such as sparrowhawks and falcons, daytime temperatures exceeding 40 degrees Celsius, and storms reaching speeds of up to 100 kilometers per hour. The construction of a weaver bird's nest always begins with the same action. A male grasps a strand of dry grass 20 to 30 centimeters long in his beak and ties it to a thin branch with a knot that ornithologists have described as functionally identical to a half-hitch. This first strand serves as the anchor point for the entire structure. The male then returns hundreds of times, adding blade by blade, interweaving the fibers with his beak with millimeter-level precision. A single nest consists of between 1,000 and 2,000 interwoven blades of grass. The final structure measures 14 to 17 centimeters in diameter, with an insulated inner chamber and a downward-facing entrance tunnel, which keeps rain out and makes access difficult for snakes. Strength tests conducted by the South African National Biodiversity Institute have shown that these individual nests can withstand gusts of over 80 kilometers per hour without structural damage. But the real feat occurs when hundreds of these nests are built on a single tree, often a thorny acacia chosen for its sturdiness and hard-to-reach location. The combined weight can exceed a ton. The tree itself is sometimes bent under the load, its branches taking on a permanently curved shape after years of colonization. These community nests, which zoologists call sociable weaver nests for the most extreme species such as Philotyrus socius, can house several hundred pairs with up to 500 individual chambers in a single structure. What distinguishes the weaver bird's nest-building process from the mere accumulation of materials is its built-in quality control system. After each stage of construction, the females meticulously inspect the male's work. They pull on the strands, test the strength of the knots, and assess the overall tension. If a nest does not meet their standards, they partially or completely dismantle it, forcing the male to start over. This selection system is not arbitrary. Studies from the University of Montpellier have shown that a male's nest-building quality is a reliable indicator of his genetic value. The best builders are also those with the most disease-resistant genomes. The female does not simply choose a comfortable nest. She chooses a genetically competent father for her future chicks. Architecture is a form of genetic language. Weaver birds play an ecological role that goes far beyond their mere presence in trees. By collecting seeds from grasses and plants for their nests, they inadvertently transport thousands of seeds over several kilometers, actively contributing to the regeneration of savannas. A study published in the Journal of Ecology in 2020 estimated that a colony of 500 weaver birds disperses between 100,000 and 200,000 seeds per breeding season, of which 20 to 30% successfully germinate. Abandoned nests, which can remain in trees for several years, become habitats for other species, insects, lizards, small frogs, and other birds that are unable to build their own shelters. A single weaver bird tree can thus directly or indirectly host dozens of different species, functioning as a veritable ecological apartment building. In many African cultures, the weaver is a symbol of community and collective ingenuity. The Maasai of Kenya and the Zulu of South Africa have long observed the weaver's braiding techniques to improve their own thatched roof construction methods. Some villages in Ethiopia still hold braiding competitions inspired by the weaver's work, emphasizing precision and speed of execution. But the weavers face growing threats. Deforestation is advancing at an alarming rate in sub-Saharan Africa. According to 2023 FAO data, the continent is losing approximately 4 million hectares of forests and wooded savannas per year. The acacia species Acacia tortilis and Acacia siberiana, favored by weavers for their durability and branchy structure, are among the first victims of agricultural clearing. Reforestation programs in Kenya and South Africa have restored several thousand hectares of savanna between 2019 and 2023. But the scale of the effort remains insufficient in the face of land use pressure. Size: 15 to 17 centimeters. Weight: 30 to 40 grams. Strands per nest: 1,000 to 2,000. Wind resistance: 80 kilometers per hour. Seeds dispersed per colony per season: 100,000 to 200,000. Community nests: up to 500 chambers. Building together is a strategy, but how do they strike with surgical precision in a physically hostile environment, water, with a brain the size of a pea? Like this chapter if these tiny architects have impressed you. And tell us in the comments, which natural structure fascinates you the most? The common kingfisher, Alcida athis, is often described as the most beautiful bird in Europe and North Africa. But this aesthetic description overshadows what is in fact one of the most sophisticated sensory, and the kingfisher's brain solves it in real time, automatically in less than 100 milliseconds. Lipid droplets rich in red and yellow pigments located in the retinal cones filter certain wavelengths and enhance contrast underwater, reducing glare caused by surface reflections. Upon diving, a nictitating membrane, a transparent third eyelid, closes over the eye to protect it from impact and water pressure while allowing for residual vision. Once the kingfisher has identified its prey and calculated the refractive index, it dives. Its descent speed can reach 90 to 100 kilometers per hour in a vertical dive. The impact with the water's surface is brutal. In a fraction of a second, it transitions from a low-density medium to one 800 times denser. Without adaptation, this impact would be fatal. Its long, conical beak functions like the bow of a high-speed ship. It cuts through the water while minimizing hydrodynamic drag. Japanese Shinkansen engineers studied this beak in the 1990s to solve the problem of the sonic shockwave produced by the Japanese bullet train when emerging from tunnels. The new shape of the train's front end, inspired by the kingfisher's beak, reduced energy consumption by 15% and shockwave noise by 30%. Underwater, the kingfisher can dive as deep as 60 centimeters in less than a second. Its vision instantly switches to the auxiliary fovea for binocular underwater vision. It catches the fish by snapping its beak shut in a scissor-like motion, with a grip force calculated so as not to pierce the prey, which would allow the fish to struggle and escape. Average success rate: 50 to 60%, depending on weather conditions and water turbidity. For several decades, the kingfisher has been used as an indicator species for the health of aquatic ecosystems. Its presence in a river or lake indicates relatively clean water, a sufficient fish population, and healthy riverbanks. Its disappearance, on the other hand, is one of the first signs of ecosystem degradation. In Europe, where the common kingfisher is being closely monitored since the 1980s, its population has declined by 35% over 40 years, mainly due to river channeling, pollution, and the decline in small fish populations. In Africa, the situation is even more concerning. The continent absorbs nearly 4 million tons of plastic each year, a significant portion of which ends up in waterways. Kingfishers feed their chicks fish contaminated with microplastics, which reduces their juvenile survival rates. Recent studies conducted in South Africa detected microplastics in the stomachs of 62% of kingfishers examined post-mortem. Size: 16 to 17 centimeters. Weight: less than 40 grams. Diving speed: 90 to 100 kilometers per hour. Diving depth: 60 centimeters. FOV: 2 versus 1 in humans. Success rate: 50 to 60%. Microplastics detected: 62% of specimens in South Africa. Precision is a strategy, but what happens when survival requires not one action a day, but 12,000? Subscribe to discover how a 40-gram bird strikes its tree 20 times per second without ever cracking its skull. Woodpeckers are a family of birds, the Pichidae, comprising 236 species found on every continent except Australia and Antarctica. In Africa, the most representative species include the cardinal woodpecker, Dendropicos fuscescens, and Bennett's woodpecker, Camphothera bennettii. Depending on the species, they measure between 12 and 35 centimeters and weigh between 30 and 150 grams. Their plumage follows a universal color code: a dark back, often barred or speckled, a lighter belly, and almost always a touch of bright red on the crown or nape, a coloration that plays a role in territorial communication. What strikes you first when observing a woodpecker at work is the apparent absurdity of its behavior. It pecks at a tree, again, and again, and again, 20 times per second for hours, days, years. Each strike generates a deceleration of about 1,200 times the acceleration due to gravity, roughly 20 times what an astronaut experiences during a rocket launch. For a human being, a single strike of this intensity would cause a severe concussion. For the woodpecker, it's the rhythm of its workday. How does the woodpecker survive 12,000 impacts a day without neurological damage? The answer lies in a unique skull structure, every component of which has been shaped by millions of years of natural selection. First, the beak exhibits remarkable asymmetry. The upper jaw is slightly longer than the lower jaw, which shifts the point of impact and reduces the vibrations transmitted to the skull. Second, the skull bones are surrounded by a layer of spongy bone with a dense trabecular structure, which functions like energy-absorbing foam. This structure is so effective that American football helmet engineers are actively studying it to develop new models. Third, the hyoid bone, the U-shaped bone that supports the tongue, has a morphology in woodpeckers that is unique in the entire animal kingdom. Instead of ending freely as in all other birds and mammals, it extends into two branches that wrap around the skull, pass behind it, and meet in front above the beak. This structure forms a natural safety belt around the brain, compressing it slightly with each impact to absorb shock waves rather than allowing them to resonate. Engineers at the California Institute of Technology published a study in 2022 showing that this structure dissipates 99.7% of the kinetic energy of each impact before it reaches the brain. Fourth, the neck muscles are arranged in such a way as to create a slight desynchronization between the movement of the head and that of the body. The head moves forward a fraction of a millisecond before the body, which deflects the trajectory of the impact downward, steering the shock wave away from the brain. The woodpecker's tongue is just as remarkable as its skull. It can extend to 3 or 4 times the length of the beak, 10 to 15 centimeters in some species. This exceptional extension is made possible by the same elongated hyoid bone that protects the brain. The tip of the tongue is covered with microscopic, backward-facing barbs, like tiny harpoons, and coated with a sticky saliva that adheres to insects. A woodpecker can capture a beetle hidden 10 centimeters deep in a woody tunnel by inserting its tongue into the tunnel and pulling it out with the prey. The woodpecker's tapping is not merely functional, It constitutes a true long-distance acoustic communication system. Territorial drumming, a series of rapid taps on a resonant dry branch, can be heard from up to a kilometer away. Each species has a characteristic drumming rhythm. The number of taps per second, the duration of the sequences, and the intervals between them are as unique as an acoustic signature. Bioacoustic studies conducted at Leiden University have shown that woodpeckers can individually identify their neighbors based solely on their drumming rhythm, without ever seeing them. This ability to recognize individuals by sound is rare in the animal world and requires a sophisticated auditory memory. Ecologists often refer to the woodpecker as an engineer species, a term reserved for organisms whose activities physically alter the environment to create habitats for other species. Its nesting cavities, dug each year in a different tree, are then occupied by dozens of other species unable to dig them themselves. Owls, kestrels, chickadees, bats, wild bees, lizards, and small mammals. In the forests of Central Africa, a field study showed that a single woodpecker tree housed an average of 19 different species in its abandoned cavities. Its role as a controller of wood-boring insect populations is equally crucial. Beetles of the genera Scolitis and Ips, responsible for spreading the Dutch elm disease fungus that decimated European elm trees in the 20th century, are among the woodpecker's favorite prey. By eliminating the larvae of these insects inside the trees, the woodpecker protects forests from internal degradation that would be invisible to any other intervention. Impacts per day: 12,000. Deceleration per impact: 1,200 EEI. Energy dissipation through the skull: 99.7%. Tongue reach: 3 to 4 times the length of the beak. Range of drumming: up to 1 kilometer. Species using abandoned cavities: up to 19 per tree. Snakes and birds: 6 living technologies, 6 perfect strategies. But what connects them? What invisible balance keeps them all alive? And above all, what threatens it? 35 minutes with us. Now is the time to like, comment on the lesson that moves you most, and share to support our team. Each species featured in this documentary occupies a specific ecological niche, and its disappearance would trigger a cascade of effects extending far beyond its own habitat. This is what ecologists call the trophic cascade. A change at one level of the food chain spreads upward and downward, altering the entire ecosystem. The gaboon viper regulates populations of rodents and small forest mammals. Without it, populations of shrews, rats, and mice would proliferate, consuming the seeds of forest trees and preventing the natural regeneration of the canopy. The black mamba, on a larger scale, controls seed-eating birds and small savanna mammals. The weaver bird disperses acacia seeds over several kilometers, ensuring the continuity of vegetation corridors. The kingfisher prevents fish overpopulation, which, by depleting aquatic invertebrates, would destabilize oxygen levels in rivers. Finally, the woodpecker eliminates insect pests that would destroy trees from the inside out. Direct interactions between these species add yet another layer to this complexity. The spitting cobra has been observed attacking weaver nests to steal eggs, forcing the colonies to develop even more elaborate collective defense strategies. The black mamba sometimes hunts from ambush in the lower branches of weaver acacias, creating selective pressure that has gradually led weavers to prefer trees above water for their colonies, making access even more difficult for terrestrial predators. Scientists have documented a telling situation in East Africa. After the local elimination of mambas and cobras in an agricultural area, rodent populations increased by 230% over 3 seasons, leading to a 40% loss of maize crops in neighboring villages. The economic cost of the disappearance of these predators was 20 times higher than the cost of protecting them. Deforestation in Africa has reached staggering levels. According to a 2023 FAO report, Africa loses approximately 4.3 million hectares of primary rainforest each year, the equivalent of a football field every 2 seconds. This deforestation is not uniform. It follows roads, borders, and infrastructure projects, creating archipelagos of isolated forests where species can no longer move, reproduce, or find sufficient resources. Plastic pollution poses a different but equally serious threat. Africa produces only 5% of the world's plastic, but is on track to become the second largest source of ocean plastic pollution after Asia. Due to the lack of waste collection and treatment infrastructure in many rural areas, every year African rivers carry millions of tons of plastic waste into the ocean, destroying the spawning grounds of the fish that kingfishers feed on, and introducing microplastics into all aquatic food chains. Finally, rapid urbanization is driving snakes out of their natural habitats and into human settlements. The number of snake bites in peri-urban areas increased by 220% in sub-Saharan Africa between 2000 and 2020, according to data from the World Health Organization. This increase reflects not greater aggression on the part of snakes, but a compression of their habitats that forces them into close proximity with human populations unprepared for this coexistence. The most troubling observation, however, is not statistical. It is behavioral. The gaboon viper kills to feed, maximizing caloric intake while minimizing energy expenditure. The black mamba kills to defend its territory, protecting the resources necessary for its survival and reproduction. Neither kills on a whim, out of abstract fear, or for ideological reasons. Humans, on the other hand, clear forests to grow crops destined for markets 1,000 kilometers away, poison rivers to extract minerals they do not need immediately, and build roads through the last migration corridors of Africa's large vertebrates. This behavioral rupture is unprecedented in the history of life on Earth. We are approaching a turning point. The documentary will soon come to a close, but the real question arises now. How can we protect these living technologies before they disappear? Concrete and measurable actions are underway across the African continent. In South Africa and Kenya, large-scale acacia replanting programs along weaver bird migration corridors have resulted in the planting of more than 2 million trees in previously deforested areas between 2019 and 2023. These plantings are not arbitrary. They follow seed dispersal maps established by studies of the weavers themselves, restoring continuous vegetation corridors where roads and fields had created gaps. Organizations such as African River Cleanup, founded in 2017, clean more than 1,000 kilometers of riverbanks in East and Southern Africa each year, directly removing plastic waste and raising awareness among riverside communities about waste management. These efforts have led to a 20 to 30% increase in small fish populations in the treated rivers over 3 to 5 years, a direct benefit to kingfishers. In Uganda and Ghana, integral forest reserves established between 2015 and 2023 protect blocks of primary forest covering several 100,000 hectares, preserving nesting habitats for woodpeckers and migration corridors for snakes. These reserves are managed in partnership with local communities, which receive a share of the revenue from ecotourism. This shared conservation model has proven effective. Reserves managed with local communities have an illegal deforestation rate 4 times lower than that of reserves managed solely by governments. In North America, the Legacy Trees program launched by the U.S. Forest Service in 2018 identifies and protects ancient trees with multiple cavities within certified logging areas. These trees are physically marked and excluded from logging, maintaining nesting structures for woodpeckers and the species that follow them. This model is beginning to be adopted in Southern Africa by several major forestry companies that have incorporated the protection of cavity trees into their FSC certifications. Reducing our plastic pollution is the first step anyone can take. Every kilogram of plastic kept out of our waterways means a preserved hunting ground for a kingfisher, a protected aquatic food chain, and one less fish contaminated by microplastics. Supporting reforestation programs financially or through participatory sponsorship, many NGOs offer tree sponsorship plans starting at just a few euros a month, allows you to contribute directly to rebuilding habitats for warblers and woodpeckers. Learning to coexist with wildlife is an increasing necessity in a world where habitats are shrinking. In practice, this means contacting a wildlife rescue center rather than killing a snake found in your garden, respecting buffer zones around wetlands, and supporting environmental education programs in schools. But beyond individual actions, these species offer models that can be applied to our institutions. The design of the woodpecker's skull has already inspired several safety helmet patents in the American and Japanese industries. The aerodynamic principles of the kingfisher's beak have improved high-speed rail transport. The collaborative construction logic of weaver birds is being studied by architects specializing in emergency housing. Imitating these biological geniuses is also a form of survival for humanity. Over the course of this nearly hour-long journey, we traversed the rainforests of Central Africa, the savannas scorched by 40-degree heat, the winding rivers, and the dizzying tree canopies. We encountered 6 species, 6 approaches to survival, 6 different answers to the same fundamental question. How do you stay alive in a world that is constantly trying to kill you? The gaboon viper teaches us patience, that rare ability to wait until the moment is perfect, to let the environment work in your favor. The spitting cobra demonstrates strategic intelligence, the capacity to assess a threat and respond proportionately, scaling the response to the bare minimum required, and no further. The black mamba embodies swift and controlled decision-making, that synthesis of speed of action, sometimes even frightened. Yet, as the chapters unfolded, another character emerged in the background, the most formidable of all, and the only one whose power defies any natural balance, the species that watches, that judges, that admires, and that destroys. Nature, with its incredible power and dizzying sophistication, remains fragile in the face of a single variable, us. The question then is no longer who is the strongest predator. We know the answer. The question is, will we finally apply these 6 virtues before it is too late? A slow fade to black. One last image, a human eye reflected in the eye of a black mamba, pupil to pupil. Then silence. If this documentary has changed the way you see nature, you can take action right now. Like, share, subscribe, and raise awareness among your friends and family. The next time you hear a woodpecker drumming or come across a viper on your path, remember, we are not superior to nature. We are simply different. Together, let's save what can still be saved. Thank you for watching until the end. Nature is watching you.